And welcome to the bottom of the well.
Welcome.
I got it right this time.
You got it.
Like nothing else. With the magic of editing, no one will ever see the bloopers. Welcome. Yeah, I'm Burrhe. I'm joined by Newbs. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Newbs.
How long have we been in the bottom of the well now?
I've lost track of time.
So I've been off the internet for like a year at least now because of this bloody well.
Yeah, it's been harsh. It's difficult down here.
Perpetually wet feet.
Everything is wet. It's dark. I can't tell when it's light, when it's day or night out.
I can kind of tell because my Switch goes into kind of like night mode.
Oh, okay.
Here and there. I don't ask me how I've managed to keep my Switch on battery. The battery on this thing's amazing.
We should explain that we are able to play video games down here, but there's precious little else we can do.
Yeah, no internet.
Well, except you need internet for games sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes there's internet.
We just order on Amazon, just get them to throw them. We're at the well, the bottom of the well, and they know where to deliver it. They just
we have an
a
address.
physical copy down.
Yeah.
We order by phone. We can just about, like, the satellite's directly up from where the well is, so we can just about get a signal.
Right.
Yeah.
So we get by, don't worry.
Okay, so we should do some introductions, because
Sure.
we're going already off crazy places. So yeah, I'm Burrhe. I've not done many video content stuff, but you have, Newbs.
A lot.
Do you want to tell us a bit about
that? Sure. I don't even know where to begin. So I've been doing online content of various kinds since I was a teenager, and I'm 35 now. So
35 years young.
Yeah. So I started a YouTube channel, 12, 13, 14 years ago, something like that. Pre Google even buying YouTube. I was on YouTube.
No way.
Yeah. We started out doing game review videos on GameCube. That's how long ago it was. And then Wii games. And then over time, we changed things up. We did different types of shows, podcasts, interviews, kind of went out into the real world occasionally. Mostly video games, mostly Nintendo. Occasionally we would talk about other stuff like Magic the Gathering.
Nerds!
Yeah.
Says the other white nerd here doing a podcast on the internet. No, not the internet. We're kind of like throwing it back up.
Oh, right.
And someone's like sorting it out.
We have a thumb drive we toss up. Somebody posts it for us.
No, a floppy disk.
Floppy disk, yeah. It's very low quality audio there.
Yeah.
Heavy compression.
Yeah, so you've been doing it for like all this editing and uploading on YouTube stuff for ages now. I'm kind of more of a consumer, you might say. And I really want to get into making my own content. I did streaming for a bit, Twitch streaming, but I've not done that in a while because work happened.
Yeah, that's
as it happens to a lot of people. But yeah, so in terms of like gaming background, I think that's more interesting because we want to be talking about games. This is kind of our outlet, if you will, to talk about games, what games we've been playing. We just like hearing the sounds of our own voices, so we just kind of want to talk into the we just kind of want to chuck our thoughts into space and let it echo off the walls of this well.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe somebody will lean over and hear our cries.
The one person who just pities us to listen for long enough. Yeah, so I grew up, first console we had was technically the Sega Mega Drive, but the first proper console I remember playing lots of was the N64. So I grew up on all those 3D platformers that came out at the time. Do I even need to list them? Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, all those kind of things.
All that era, the Collectathon era.
Donkey Kong 64, I know is very derided, but lots of fond memories of that game.
By me in particular.
But yeah, like Zelda. So my first, for example, my first Zelda game was Ocarina of Time, things like that, which I'm sure will come back to haunt us later when I talked about my escapades with Link to the Past recently.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited to hear about that.
Yeah, no spoilers for now, but...
So, to translate, Mega Drive is Genesis.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
For-
you guys
for
don't
the
call it that.
Americans,
I prefer Mega Drive name,
Mm.
to be honest. Like, objectively.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have an opinion. They're both decent names, I guess.
Yeah, they're right. It's just
Neither is an obviously bad name, I say.
No, they're both decent. I just think
Mhm.
Mega Drive sounds cooler. And you know what? You know the angle Sega were going for at the time. You know.
It's like it's better than Super. Mega.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So where did your gaming journey start then?
Let's see. I got a Game Boy as a birthday present once upon a time. I think I was about 10. So I started on there. Started with Tetris, and then things like Wario Land, Donkey Kong 94 is a great kind of pre-Donkey Kong Country Donkey Kong game on there. It's kind of a throwback to the arcade Donkey Kong.
Oh, right, okay.
And then Super Nintendo is really where the obsession kicked off. Mario World, Mario All-Stars, Link to the Past, of course, is where I started on Zelda. It's my all-time favorite game. And then, of course, the RPGs, Final Fantasy, 2 and 3 as we called them back then, 4 and 6, Chrono Trigger, all kinds of weird niche games. And then N64, of course, obsessed with GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, and Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
And then GameCube, I was in high school for GameCube and kind of after that, and that's where I really got into collecting games. It was kind of what was available at the time. So GameCube is probably it and Super Nintendo compete for my favorite system. And so, just been a diehard Nintendo gamer from the beginning and through till today, with just occasionally some PC stuff in there too. Strategy, stuff that you wouldn't play on a console, I guess, like strategy games.
Stuff that sucks without a mouse.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bit in there is where we differ majorly as gamers. Is you go about actively collecting games, where I wouldn't say collecting, I'd say I hoard them. So I wouldn't go out my way to buy a specific game, if per se. Do you know where I'm coming from? But I won't get rid of my old games.
Right. So you just don't get rid of them instead of actively trying to collect them.
Yeah, I hold on to them for nostalgia's sake and to kind of forget about the crippling depression of the modern day.
Absolutely.
Things like that,
I mean, that's what it was for me for a long time too. I think it just spiraled out of control until it became about the collecting too.
Yeah, nice. So kind of beyond N64 for me, I didn't actually get GameCube until really the end of high school.
Shocking.
Because I'm I think a few years younger than you.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been prime time throughout my high school, but we ended up getting a PS2 during that time. So, and I actually ended up probably playing more of my N64 still during that time. So I played and replayed all my N64 games.
Right.
All throughout high school, just non-stop.
Well, that was
GoldenEye, Smash Bros, things like that.
That's always been the N64 thing, is it was quality over quantity in theory, right? It's not a lot of games, but they're games you could play a lot of.
Oh, the amount of times I played through Banjo-Kazooie, though.
I have never played through it.
Special place in my heart. I've gone back recently, in the past few years, and I can play through the whole thing in one sitting, 100% it. I have to start early because it takes about 7 hours for me.
I was going to say, how long does that take?
I'm no speedrunner, but I can do it.
I mean, relative to how long it would take me, that sounds like a speedrun.
It certainly helps knowing where everything is.
Yeah,
with those collectathons.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Nowadays, I basically consider myself a PC gamer that also gets all the Nintendo stuff. I feel like that's the best combo.
But are you sure on your gaming business card though? Surely it says Pro Smash player on there as well.
I wouldn't call myself a Pro Smash player. That's the thing. I really like the competitive scene of Smash. I really enjoy it. I really like playing Smash. Compared to a casual level.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly am good. I'm not going to deny that. Particularly at Melee, which I've sunk the most hours into. Which is weird again, because I didn't get the GameCube until I was nearly at university, where I properly got into the competitive
Yeah,
side.
it is weird. Yeah, you kind of got in late there.
But yeah, I'll go to like any kind of tournament in the UK, and I'll come kind of middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll destroy some people, have close games with like a group in the middle, and then get utterly destroyed and annihilated by at least kind of 50% of the people there.
Okay,
kind of thing.
well, it's
So,
still a lot better than I would do.
Yeah, so I'll enjoy myself and go and have fun, but I'm kind of like not really near being quote unquote competitive in the actual scene, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Off the back of that, we talked about the new Smash Bros. Ultimate. How have you found that Smash Bros. Ultimate since we did our review? Because we've done a few collabs together before.
Absolutely.
So how did you... We really enjoyed the game when it first came out, and we had a lot of thoughts on it. What are your thoughts now? Like kind of a year or two?
I mean, I don't know that they've changed. I don't think I'm hardcore enough to have an evolving opinion of it.
Like, do you still play it?
Just occasionally, just when somebody's around who wants to play it. I checking out the DLC fighters as they come out.
I played like a lot of it after the we did the review for it, and then just kind of petered off. I was always playing the GameCube Melee as well, in the background, just because I'm way into the competitive for that.
Yeah.
Which has been killed, by the way, by the latest world events, by the way.
Oh, I bet.
Despite there being online stuff, it's just not the same, like not being able to get people together.
I think that's got to be true for anything that's in person.
Yeah.
It's true for professionals, real sports too.
What, like League of Legends?
League of Legends.
And Overwatch.
I was thinking, like basketball and hockey.
StarCraft. Those real sports, yeah.
Oh yeah, the real ones, yeah. The hardcore ones.
But yeah, so for Ultimate for me, it just kind of slowly petered off. I had a few friends I was playing with online, but there was never anyone local to me that I could actually get around on a regular basis. So the kind of enthusiasm and excitement petered off, and I kind of like you, I guess, check back in for the new roster when that comes out, and. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been, like a slow peter out into a bit of a meh for me at the moment. Is my kind of general feeling towards it.
To me, this is just, to me, this is how I approach any game, I guess. But I guess when you're so deep into the scene, it's a little different. To me, it's like, I play through a game, and maybe I go back for DLC, maybe I go back to replay it or try to 100% it or something. But like, I'm not just continually playing the same game ever. Tetris, I guess, maybe is the one thing that I go back to. That's
fair. Like, I've not touched a Smash game in 3 months.
Wow. Okay.
Since our lockdown started over here.
Yeah.
I've just been I kind of taken the time to play more single player games. Having said that, I've not actually been getting through that many single player games. I've dedicated some time to it, but failed horrifically to get around to things.
I've been more like not a large number of games, just a handful of addictions. I've consumed a lot of time gaming wise.
Like what?
Factorio is the main one. Are we transitioning here into the next segment?
Oh, tell us about Factorio, because I really like that game as well.
So I think the idea for this episode is we're going to kind of recount our gaming over the last while. So why not kick off with Factorio? So you know what the game is all about, but maybe I should explain. Sorry, my chair is creaky. I don't know how that's going to come through. Let me explain the concept a little bit. So it's an overhead kind of 2D game. It's a PC game. Basically, you're like a little guy who's crash landed on a dangerous alien planet. And you start out by just mining resources and making them into basic, items. And then you combine those into more advanced technology, and then you can automate all of this. You build factories and like belts and inserter arms, so that you can take your basic materials, have the factories turn them into more advanced technology, send that along the conveyor belt, feed that into another factory where it uses it to turn it into even more advanced items. And eventually you've got this giant automated base with conveyor belts and factories all over the place. And kind of the end goal is to tech up to building this big rocket and launching the rocket. But the game never really ends. You can just play forever, and you can just launch rockets continuously over and over once you kind of develop everything enough.
Yeah, so the kind of joy of the game comes from like automating absolutely everything you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, that's right.
And like setting it up so it works.
And then there's also like alien kind of bug enemies that come attack you too. Your pollution spreads out from your base because you're like burning coal and other things to make your furnaces work, run your drive power for the base.
Yeah, the sheer cheek of those pesky natives getting in the way of progress.
How dare they?
How dare they? Those scoundrels.
So I mean, really, if you think about it, you are truly the bad guy because they're just there to. I mean,
no.
You're polluting their world, and they're triggered. They come attack you when the pollution reaches them. So, I think that's what they have against you. That's my guess.
But we're doing them a favor. We're like, the pollution, I think, causes them to mutate and get stronger.
That's true.
So we're doing them a favor by making them better aliens.
Well, more dangerous, violent aliens. I don't know if that's better.
Well, I think we can learn from the British Empire that it can only be a good thing, right?
Oh, yeah. You've set a fine precedent for the rest of the world. So
Teach by example. So what have you been doing in it more recently then?
Yeah, so that's just to explain what the game is. So I've been playing it off and on for years, but once the whole lockdown started, that's not the right word, but whatever, the quarantine, I set about trying to finish the handful of achievements that I hadn't gotten for the game yet. And all the ones I had gotten were either easier or they just came from playing a lot of the game, like producing X amount of certain materials, whatever. So there were a few that are more like based on how quickly you do things. So the three really that I focused on, the three that I had left were building the train within, I think, the first 90 minutes of the game. Then there's a beating the game, which means launching the rocket within 15 hours and then launching the rocket within 8 hours. And keep in mind that I think if you just kind of go at your own pace, well, you could take as long as you want to launch the rocket, but I would say maybe it takes a newer player 30, 40 hours, maybe.
Mm-hmm. So my last skip playthrough, when I did it single player, I launched the rocket in 30 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I just played with a new player, and that took us 40 hours.
Right. And obviously it goes quicker when you have more people, too. Provided you can coordinate what you're doing.
Yeah, most of the time was just spent me showing him the joys of Factorio, and
oh yes,
I was kind of like left him to it half the time. Like, here's this thing, go build this thing. So I was kind of like the company director, and like we need this, go build this, and then he'd go up with his own plan and stuff. I kind of was like curious how a new player would approach it. I always really like that with
Yeah, it's funny.
Games like that, because they'll always approach those the way they automate it. Like there's only one way you can put things together, but there's multiple different ways you can get the pieces you need to the place where you need them to be.
Yeah.
And just to see how people tackle that is really cool.
For newer players, like if you've never watched somebody else play or watched like a Let's Play type video, like you're going to come up with bizarro, incredibly inefficient designs. It's pretty fun to see that. So I had a couple runs at achieving this stuff. The train one, I found you kind of have to do on its own, just because if you go so hard on getting the train, kind of distracts from building up towards everything else you need to launch the rocket. So I got the train one.
You talking about like doing it in this quick time, like just baffles me.
Yeah,
like I can't imagine even right now how you could do it that quickly.
There are a few things you can do you can kind of cheese it a little bit. So to get these achievements, you can't turn off the enemies, the biters.
Okay.
But you can set the map to be an island, and you can also set your starting area where there won't be any biters to really big. So if you do that, there won't be any biters on the island, because where they would have spawned is the ocean. So stuff like that, you can kind of cheese it a bit. So I did that for the train.
Boy.
Yeah. I did that for the train and the 15-hour run. The 8-hour run, I think I just found I spent too much time trying to fit everything in on the smaller land size of the island, so I just generated a regular map. And I took a bunch of runs at this, and I just wasn't quite doing it. Like, maybe I was getting it in 9 hours instead of 8, or even closer sometimes. And I also had 100 save files probably. Like, I was saving all the time, and I'd be like, well, I didn't quite do it there. So I'd load an old save and be like, well, let's try from this point, and get all the way along. And like, maybe it'd be a little bit faster time, but I still wasn't quite getting there. So I was like, well, I think I'm going to just have to start over, right? And I think I even did another run, and I still didn't quite get there. So then I watched... I
can't imagine how frustrating that is.
Oh, yeah. So then I actually decided maybe what I need to do here, because I wasn't finding a lot of like a great true walkthrough to do this. I just went and watched the most recent world record speed run for a single player run of the game, and I was like, okay, there's some tips here, like just some little things that I can pick up. I don't know how much I should get into this, because nobody's going to understand it, but there's three levels.
I'm cutting all of this section out, don't worry.
Oh no. There's 3. I'll just explain this one tip for anybody who wants to do this. This is the game changer for me. There's 3 levels of furnaces for smelting the raw iron and copper and turning into like copper and iron plate. The first level is like stone furnaces, and then second level is I think they're iron furnaces, maybe they're called. And then the third level, what's that?
Doesn't matter. Steel furnaces.
Steel.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, you're right. Steel furnaces. And then the top level is electric. But the thing is, and I always went from first to third, but it turns out the electric furnaces, well, one, they're a different size, so you can't just put them in the same spot. You had the old ones. And also, they take a ton of electricity. They use a lot of resources to build them in the first place. So I realized the level 2s, they still burn coal, but they're just as fast as the electric furnaces.
Yeah, and they take up less space as well.
And yeah, you can just stamp them over top your old stone furnaces. So you don't have to go through the trouble of building a whole new section of your base when you kind of tech up to that point. So that was the game changer for me. And I ended up beating the game, I think, in 7.5, 7:15 maybe.
Damn.
So I finally got it. That was the last achievement.
Nice.
And my total amount of time played, according to Steam, is like 510 hours now, I think.
Damn.
So to be fair, that's not just been the last 3 months. That's the last few years off and on. But a lot of that was trying to get these last few achievements. So yeah, that has been my main obsession, main addiction in the COVID era.
Awesome. Yeah, Factorio is such a fun game. I really love how organically bases kind of spring up around the stuff you've already put down to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people, like, if you look on Reddit, a lot of the community, they build, like, buses, they call them, which means they're just kind of organizing their base so everything is flowing down one giant kind of pipeline of aligned belts. But I'm not interested in playing that way. Like, I want to play more organically, like you're saying.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Just like... well, I like having played it through a few times to the rocket launch. I do like planning ahead now that I know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
So like leaving gaps for future conveyor belts to go through. And,
that's right.
This is going to be like a conveyor belt area. This is going to be the whole area. I'm going to like build it way off further to the side. The copper mining and stuff. instead of like my very first playthrough where we just like crammed everything together, like, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then quickly realizing that, we need to start again.
Yeah. However much room
needs to come down.
Yeah. However much room you think you need between things, you need, I don't know, quadruple or more, leave lots of space.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next. Talk about the next game then.
Oh, are we transitioning here into the next segment?
All right, a little thing I want to talk about is called Return of the Obra Dinn.
Okay, never heard of this.
Okay, so this is probably my favorite single-player game experience I had last year. I'm not sure whether it came out last year, as in 2019,
right.
or whether it came out in 2018, but I played it in 2019. And it's a masterpiece. I can't think of any other way to describe it. I'll explain the premise to you, but I strongly recommend you go play it. And if I explain it
PC?
too much... it's on PC. I think there's a Switch version.
Oh,
but I played it on PC because it's a first-person game. And there's lots of kind of like clicking through books and stuff. So the premise is you play as an insurance inspector.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this... And you're like in the 1800s. And this 1800s. And this ship, this trading ship, has come back into port with nobody on it.
Okay.
Crew's all gone. And you as the insurance inspector basically need to decide, you're for your insurance company, that's what needs to get paid out, basically, because obviously something's gone wrong, like there's no cargo on it. So something's gone wrong and you're there to investigate what happened.
Right.
It's not just that you don't just like look around looking for clues. There is the main mechanic of the game, which is it's incredibly well done as well. You have this pocket watch type thing that if you find a dead body, you can use this pocket watch on to experience the last moments of that person's life.
Okay, so you're kind of investigating. What
but like a
happened on
supernatural investigation,
right?
As you like go through these dead people's memories, and with it you can go like it ends up going like Inception. You can go through like memories within memories. Like if you find a dead body in that person's memory, you can go into that person's memory and you chain them together. And the whole point is you're trying to work out and like relate everything back to a ledger of all the crew. So like who's like the first person you work out basically is like the captain, and so you got to put a face to the captain, and then you chain through like who's the first mate and things like that, and then you have to like go all the way down. It ends up being a bit trial and error-y to find out all the like crews and the top men and the the cook and things like that. But it's so well done. It's such a finely crafted puzzle game with a really compellingly told story that's completely non-linear. Like it jumps about from like chapter 1 to chapter 8 to like chapter 3, and you have to piece it together as you go along, and you get like little snippets here and there. Like sometimes you might get little bits of chapter 3 and then you have to go to chapter 2 because there's a dead body from chapter 2 kind of thing.
So you would, genre-wise, you would call it a puzzle game?
Yeah, I think that's the closest you can kind of
obviously not a Tetris or a Puyo or something. It's more like a Phoenix Wright maybe.
Not even then, because Phoenix Wright's very much more like linear story kind of base, whereas you can kind of it's like a non-linear story puzzle thing.
Okay.
Where the story is the puzzle.
Right.
It's really cool, really well told. Just fascinating. Like the art style is really interesting as well. Quickly Google up the game. The art style, it basically looks like Game Boy kind of graphics.
Oh, I like that.
I heard a lot of people say it was kind of hard on their eyes to begin with. Like over an extended period of time, they got headaches. But I didn't have that personally. I was just so engrossed by it. I got sucked right in, and just couldn't stop, kind of thing, until I'd done it all. It takes you like about five 5 hours, 5-6 hours, or something like that.
So it's a 3D first person view, but it's got this very basic, kind of Game Boy graphics, black and white, and kind of, I guess, is newsprint, I think, is the look they're going for.
Yeah. Like, in terms of gameplay, you're just, like, clicking on things, dragging people's names from the ledger to match people's faces from pictures and documents you've recovered from the ship.
Right.
Because I think you need to figure out, you need to relate a person's face to their name and their job.
Right.
And how they died as well. That's the whole kind of situation, isn't it? And then if you can figure out who did the bad and whose families get like the insurance payout, essentially.
Right. Wow, it sounds very original.
I can like wholeheartedly recommend it to anyone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it looks cool.
It's thoroughly one of the most original games I've played ever, and one of the best kind of experiences in gaming I've had in the past few years.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Good suggestion.
Let me know if you do end up playing that, because I want to hear your thoughts and like actually spoiler discussion, talk about things, because I don't want to get any more detail than that, because it's so grounded in the story and the mystery.
Right. Yeah.
Because like to begin with, I didn't know going in. Like I kind of knew about certain elements, but there was like a few bits here that which went, oh shit, no way, kind of like I didn't expect the story to even go close to in that kind of direction.
Right.
And when you kind of first see some of these events that happen, it is really like it's this kind of game, this kind of story, you know, kind of like start rubbing my hands again. Now I'm like every single reveal got me more and more invested. Yeah, it's great.
Are we transitioning here into the next segment?
Transition. Okay, right. So the next game I want to talk about is Forgotten Anne. So I played this on the Switch.
Okay, this is another one I'm going to have to Google.
Yeah, have you never heard of this one either?
No, I'm out of the loop. I've been in this well too long. I'm losing touch.
Yeah, you were already down here when I got here.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I nearly landed on you. Thank God, you were out the way. Jeez. So Forgotten Anne is a 2D platformer. A little bit more story-based. There's like a few story-based choices you can do in it. So it's almost like not a choose-your-own-adventure, but like a quote-unquote choices matter, like a Telltale type style of storytelling, but with it being a 2D platformer. Almost point-and-clicky puzzle elements.
Oh, okay.
So there's kind of a bit of a mix of the genre, but at its heart, it's like a 2D platformer. With a story focus. But most of all, the art style is really gorgeous. It's all hand-drawn.
Yeah. I'm looking at a video. It looks great. Love
what are like your first impressions on the visuals?
I mean, great animation. It looks like one of these indie darling type of 2D platformers that have... I mean, I think they became fashionable years ago now. And they seem to never stopped since.
Kind of, yeah, very artsy. It is a gorgeous looking game. Don't know why I'm like stuttering, repeating myself over simple words, but let's do some more English. So,
well, you know what it is? We've been in this well so long, like we're kind of forgetting, we're losing a bit of that skill.
You know what? It's hard to talk when you're like hearing your echo back straight away.
Right.
You kind of like overlap with your own voice.
We try not to speak too much down here.
Mm-hmm. We kind of like face back to each other. There's only so much of each other we can stand at one time.
Right, exactly.
So we kind of like face each other backs and play single player games on our Switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Occasionally shout for help for periods of time.
This podcast is a cry for help.
Yeah. In case you hadn't figured that out yet. Those people who have stayed with us for this long. So I first came across Forgotten Anne. I actually went to like one of the only game expos I've ever been to, down in Birmingham.
Okay. What was that?
And yeah, go on.
What's the name of the expo?
I can't remember.
Not a big one.
It was a big one. I just can't remember the name off at the top of my head. It is like the big one in the UK.
Oh, okay.
The kind of central of the UK for games and stuff.
This appears to be called the UK Games Expo.
Sure. All right, cool. Creative. That's probably why I couldn't think of a name, because I thought it was actually called something, but it was just called UK Games.
The most generic name you could imagine.
Yeah, sure. So I first came across Forgotten Anne at one of these, along with a few other games that I'd loved that haven't come out yet that I'm still kind of keeping an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
And this was 3 years ago now. 4 years ago? It must have been 3 years ago. And I really liked the whole... I played through the intro first 20 minutes. So I loved it. The art style was great. Animation looked really cool.
Yeah.
I really liked the idea of having more of a story focus and spoilers if you want to get into it, but one of the very first things you do is you choose whether you suck the soul out of this animate object or not.
Oh,
let
absolutely.
It get away. But he's like obviously a rebel. Like the whole premise of the world is that you're in the land of the forgotten. So where like a scarf or a chair or a shoe or a sock gets forgotten by its owner, it ends up in this world.
Oh, okay, I like that.
So like, and they become animated. So you've got this choice of like sucking the soul out of this animated scarf or not.
Like
and I because he was a rebel clearly that kind of had just busted up some factory somewhere. I immediately just sucked the soul out of him.
Absolutely.
And I talked to the devs. The dev was like, "Oh, what did you do with what's his face?" I'm like, "Oh, I just sucked his soul out." I'm like, "What?"
What?
And he's like, it's like clearly like one of his favorite characters. You killed him? It's like, he made me feel so guilty.
Oh man.
So the devs like, at least the guy that was there clearly have the kind of right idea in mind of you're trying to toe the line between you're not sure whether what you're doing is right or not. So the whole kind of moral choice, your very moral ambiguity there, because from what you know, there's stuff going on to do with rebels, but you've got an overall goal to get back to the human world. And like, do you want to push through to that goal, or do you want to be empathetic to these guys, but that will counteract and stop you from getting to the human world? So
here's my question, because everything you've said has been positive or intriguing, but you said this was a game you didn't enjoy.
Yes. So the premise and the idea, and I was looking forward to it on like first playthrough, but it's really good. The whole idea of it is great. I love the idea, and some bits of it were good and enjoyable, but as a kind of platformer aficionado, I think you could call me, like, I really enjoy being able to control my character in a tight way that makes sense and can get me from point A to point B in as fluid a way as possible, and that's the kind of bit about platformers I really enjoy. This is not one of those games. Okay, so the actual gameplay mechanics weren't great. It looks kind of floaty, like not precise. Yeah, it's really imprecise. Like when you press the jump button, you've got a set arc and you can't adjust that. Oh no. So it's very much, like I said, point and clicky, like that. So it gives me very much that vibes, which does not gel well with the platformer. So the premise and the story behind it, I really like. And on the face of it and surface, it seems like a game I should really like. Because, I really like 2D platformers. I really like my kind of moral ambiguity choice. I like the way they've told the story. I like the art style. But playing it didn't sit well with me. There were multiple times where, like I said, the platforming just didn't work correctly. Like I'd try and be grabbing onto the side of an edge and it wouldn't. Getting stuck underneath platforms in kind of a slightly glitchy way. I think what happened, like on analysis kind of side of it, is they focused too much on this kind of hand-drawn aesthetic. Right. And they tried to fit everything in with how they'd drawn the animation frames. Right. To make it look nice. And the gameplay suffered. The game feel really it was sacrificed, I feel. Yeah. I just didn't enjoy the actual playthrough of it. I say I forced myself. I did still somewhat enjoy it, but looking back on it, I just can't recommend it. Like, because I was at a certain point, I was like, I've just got to see this through. Like, I'm kind of invested in the story.
Do you think?
But there were a few times where I just kind of nearly dropped it and didn't pick it back up.
Do you think that? Well, I don't know who out there this would even apply to, but maybe there's somebody who's okay with playing platformers in a more deliberate way, instead of just sort of adjusting their jumps as they go and all of this.
Possibly.
I don't know who's out there like that though.
Yeah, like if you like platformers and you enjoy platformers, you, like me, won't get on with the controls.
Right.
And I don't think they're even beginner friendly, so if someone isn't in it for the platforming, I think they'd get even more frustrated with the jankiness of the platforming and the controlling of the character.
Yeah, good point.
But they might get more out of it because they're more there for the puzzle side or the story aspects.
Right.
Whereas I'm very much a gameplay kind of guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that is why probably for both of us, why we've stuck to Nintendo. Gameplay over everything.
Just good on you, Nintendo, for making great feeling games and putting fun first.
Yeah. Satisfying controls. Controls over everything.
So basically what we're saying is if Nintendo made this game, it would be one of my favorites.
Probably.
Yeah, so that's a game I really liked, and I think more so than didn't like, was really disappointed by. Because I was looking forward to it because the premise and the idea was good. Yeah,
and the art. Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad. Oh, are we transitioning here into the next segment?
Is there anything that that's been that way for you then over the past year or two? That you kind of not enjoyed, or maybe even something that you just picked up and went, nah.
Oh man. I have an idea, but I'm gonna say it, but I don't want to get into it.
Do it.
Because I feel like we could probably save this for another episode. Is the new Fire Emblem? Fire Emblem Three Houses, is that what it's called?
Oh yeah. Okay.
So dangerous, controversial, perhaps.
This
and it's been long enough now that
game series.
Yeah.
And I'm slowly considering how much less I should be talking to you now. Having said,
so,
I'm aware of the criticisms and stuff. Go on.
I love the Fire Emblem series. I've played many other Fire Emblem games. My issue is that the game is so focused on like running around the school and I don't even know, chatting with students and teachers. And I'm just like, and there's a calendar you gotta manage. I don't know what's going on. I just want to get to the next level. It's been long enough now I can't really talk about the game, but that was my impression of it when I tried to play it.
Yeah, those are certainly the bits about it I enjoyed the least.
Yeah.
Having said that, my girlfriend Jade, who is actually downstairs playing it right now, she never got around to the DLC, so she's been playing through some of the DLC stuff. Which, looking at it, for me, seems like a waste of money, because it's basically just more students you can chat to at the end of the day. Yeah, so she's very much that kind of gamer. She really likes the building of a party and getting to know the characters of things. So for her, this has like been the best Fire Emblem game ever.
Right.
Whereas some of the older ones, where it's very, very much light on that.
Yeah, it's just like, here's some guys, they joined your party, next mission.
Mm-hmm. Whereas for her, she needs to have a story, reason, and an investment in the characters to care about the game enough to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for me, and I guess for you as well, like, the gameplay is what hooks us in. And
right. And maybe for me, part of it was just previous, expectations based on previous games.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I didn't follow closely enough to really be prepared for how intense all of the school stuff is. But it was just like, can we please get to the mission already? And there's tutorials to explain what you're supposed to be doing in the school, but I'm like, I don't care. Let me play Fire Emblem and stop with this like weird dating sim school game or whatever it is going on here.
Yeah, I had a friend who did that. We played it all the way through to the end for one of the houses routes. And he missed out on like some a branching story path because he just skipped through all of that and ignored all of the talking to all the students. Whereas I kind of was just kind of in love with the game as a whole. That I was kind of happy just to potter around, chat to people, collect things, and I ended up going down a completely different story route.
Right.
People who've played all the routes will probably know which one I'm talking about. But we ended up going down very different routes, even though we started in the same house. So that was kind of really interesting that in a Fire Emblem game has not really happened before. That I kind of like and kind of don't like.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Because it feels like some of the paths are weaker than others, and like less thought about, and some of them don't feel like they've got a proper ending, whereas others feel like, oh, this is the ending to the actual game. This is like actually all the issues got resolved here. Whereas in some of them, it's just they defeat the antagonist of that route, and then they didn't actually tackle the underlying cause of the problems that were going on. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, because in Fire Emblem games, there's always like this world-ending big bad that goes on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of the houses' routes don't even touch on that. They like hint about them and go, oh, there's something going on here. Here's some shady characters that keep popping up. And you don't see them in battle at all.
So, I don't know. It just seemed like there was too much not Fire Emblem in the Fire Emblem game.
Just, a distinct lack of Fire Emblem going on.
Yeah.
I can totally understand that.
Are we transitioning here into the next segment? How about this? I have a game I could talk about. Mario Maker 2.
Go for it.
So I would say when this is another one where it came out, and I mean I had loved the first one, but I think I'd played it so much that it was kind of like, I guess I felt like I'd already done it all, and there was some new parts, new elements to the game, and new like environments you could use, like palette. Whatever you want to call it, environments you could set your levels in, but otherwise it just felt enough like the old one that I wasn't as captured by it. Although I ended up enjoying the single player quite a bit, which was quite a bit different. The first one didn't really have a single player. It had, I'm trying to remember, I didn't even really get into it. They had some like built-in levels, but it didn't feel like you were playing through a game. This one, it was much more. It felt like you were playing through a game, albeit with wacky like Mario Maker style levels that the developers had built.
Yeah, okay.
But then, much more recently, they released the final major update, they called it, for Mario Maker 2, which introduced the World Maker. Right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So this was like the thing that I'd wanted from Mario Maker from the beginning, where it's like, okay, now you can make a full 8-world Mario game with five levels per world, and there's even a little editor for designing the map for each world.
Which I think from like everyone who's grown up with a Mario game, a 2D Mario game, has wanted to be able to create their own Mario game. Exactly. In some way or another.
So this was the thing that I wanted from Mario Maker from the beginning, was an overworld. So the World Maker, the map editor itself is pretty limited, not just in the way you lay it out, but like it's only available in the Mario World graphics. You can't do like the Mario 1, Mario 3, New Super styles, you know?
Okay.
Which is fine with me because I am diehard. All my levels, or like 90% of them, I always build them in the Mario World. Oh boy, the Mario World style. So I was like, this is perfect for me because basically it's like, okay, I get to make my own Super Mario World, right?
Yeah.
So I went pretty hard on the Mario Maker 2 for a while, and I mean, I've been focused on just trying to fill out the entirety, whatever 5 times 8 is, right? 40 levels, I guess. that I've gotten up
Just
to.
Like, hold on, let me Google
Yeah, I
it.
had to mentally.
Times 8.
I had to do that math.
Yeah, 40. It's 40. Yeah,
40.
it's 40.
Okay. So I've been kind of lazy about churning out these really short levels just to fill it up, but I kind of love that too. And I've kind of accepted that my game, air quotes, game, is going to be just a string of just very quick levels. I try to aim for kind of a medium difficulty. And I'm 4 worlds into that. And I haven't done any more in a while, but I have a lot of like incomplete levels too. So I think eventually I will finish I will live my dream of having made an entire 8-world Mario game.
Live the dream, brother.
Yeah.
You can do it.
So speaking of a game with good platforming controls and physics, man, let me tell you.
It is something to behold, like that whole game.
Yeah.
Like the whole idea from like concept to execution is just so well done. I think.
I love it. I mean, I love the building more than when I have to play other people's levels because I'm always, it's such a. I mean, I said I personally try to aim for kind of medium difficulty, but it feels like it's always incredibly easy. Somebody just uploaded basically nothing. You just win, or it's like an auto play where it even just kind of pushes you through. Or it's like these super hard like Kaizo levels or whatever, which people are obsessed with, right? That was always the thing. Like, look at this incredibly hard level. But like neither of those is Mario to me, right? I want to play levels like in Mario games. That's the enjoyment.
There's definitely not enough of that.
Right. So I try to aim to fill that a little bit, even though my levels out of laziness have been pretty short. So that's my Mario Maker bit. Have you played it on Switch?
I've not played Mario Maker 2. I played Mario Maker 1 a little bit back in the day. When I had a friend over, we bought it and just played it for like 2 weeks straight, and then I didn't really touch it again.
Yeah.
Just because we enjoyed kind of making levels for each other to try and beat.
Right,
so
that's a big part
that
of it
ended up
too.
being, particularly being in person, just like trying to make it as hard as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. If you have somebody around that you can just kind of troll each other by making levels for each other, there's a lot of fun in that too.
But we're both like, we're really into our platformers as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up just collabing to create as hard a challenge for ourselves as we could. And we like both kind of like created like bits at a time and go, oh, if we put that there, what if we put that there? What if we do this kind of thing? And then we took it in turns to try and beat it, to try and upload it, and things like that. And that was the most fun I had with.
That's probably the best way to actually make a decent level. I mean, obviously in the offices at Nintendo, one guy doesn't just sit down, crank out a level and say, don't worry about it, it's good, put it in, right?
I got this, bro. It's okay.
Yeah, right. I mean, they're obviously working on levels together. Somebody plays with something and says, hey, try this out, what do you think? And they collaborate. I mean, that's because it's so easy on your own to just have such blind spots for your own levels and not realize that they're way too hard, or there's some like way they can just kind of skip through half the level. And you're like, wait, don't go up there. You're not supposed to go up there. Things like that.
That's why like playtesting is so important.
Right,
So
which is
someone who's not interacted with your game or designed it in the first place deals with it.
Which is completely missing if you're just on your own in Mario Maker. Oh, are we transitioning here into the next segment?
So speaking back to kind of like N64 and like starting out with gaming and things, like back in the day, one of the games I played a lot of was that original Pokemon Snap game.
Oh, fantastic game. Loved it. Such a strange game you would never expect would actually be good, especially back then when there were so many bad Pokemon spin-offs. It was such a gem. Yeah.
How would you describe that game? Like, what kind of genre is it?
It's a rail shooter. It's like a House of the Dead style rail shooter. Yeah.
But it's like not only a rail shooter, it's a bit of like a puzzle game as well.
Yes, that's true.
Like it's an on-rail shooter puzzler.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got so many like different steps to get some of the shots for the Pokemon.
Right. And I guess we should say you're not shooting and killing the Pokemon. You're taking their photos.
Not unlike Pokemon Ranger. That's what you had to do in that game, right?
Let's say yes.
I never played this.
Neither did I. Sounds like it.
Yeah. I mean, whatever it sounds like. I don't even seen footage of those games. But whatever it sounds like, I'm sure it's correct.
Yeah.
And how could I possibly be wrong? But yeah, so a new Pokemon Snap got announced this past week of recording. And what were your first impressions?
To be honest, I didn't have a ton. I feel like the reveal video didn't really give me a lot of information about the game, except that it was like, oh yeah, that looks like Pokemon Snap. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Did you get any more out of it than I did?
So for me, first of all, I was like, yeah, cool, about time.
Yeah,
I've really wanted a new Pokemon Snap game for years now. I remember getting this thing for my 9th birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I actually remember, I remember saying that I really wanted that game because I was really into Pokemon at the time, 9-year-old, and
that's right.
The late 90s, early 2000s wasn't. And it just come out, and parents in-game were deciding what to get me for my birthday, and being a naive 9-year-old, I thought, I'll say what I want, but I don't know whether they'll get it for me, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the parents who love me, I kind of saw them take it to the counter while they'd kind of surreptitiously and thought they diverted me off to the other corner of the game to play on one of the demos.
Okay.
While they went to the counter, but I saw.
You saw.
Me as a smart 9-year-old, I knew they were getting
so
it
you
for
have
me. So
very
I kind of ruined the
fond-
surprise for myself, but
well, whatever.
I spent
Is it a
the
surprise?
next kind of 2 weeks super excited to get that game. The build-up was...
Okay, this is off topic, but how much do you miss that intense hype for a new game?
So much. I've been crushed so many times by hype. And getting overhyped for things that has slowly been beaten down out of me by the gaming industry.
Right. I feel like for me, part of it too is just kind of knowing too much. When you see how the sausage is made, it kind of kills your appetite, I guess. And it's just if you follow the announcements and you watch all the videos leading up and you read discussions and you follow this stuff, or you watch the game explain videos, so you feel like you know every little detail of what's about to come.
Yeah, I stopped watching Game Explain for that reason. There's a fine line of knowing enough to keep me excited and interested, but then knowing too much that it kind of dwindles.
Right, exactly. Because then there's just nothing there to discover for yourself.
Yeah, that's what I've, particularly in the past 2 or 3 years, I've kind of reverted back to seeing the trailers, seeing the announcements, but for example with Breath of the Wild, I just kind of media blacked out anything to do with Breath of the Wild when that was coming out.
Yeah,
because I was so excited to just discover all the things you could do with it. Mm-hmm. I knew nothing other than the very first kind of announcement trailer.
Right, open world Zelda.
Yeah, so I had a great time with that on launch.
Yeah.
But with the Pokemon Snap reveal that we've just had, there wasn't really much there, was there?
No. I couldn't really tell you. There was a Pikachu. I can't... there was nothing that stuck in my brain.
I remember there being a Pikachu.
Yeah.
And he was eating an apple and looking quite dashing. But for the most part, the main thing I got out of it was how pretty it looked.
Oh, sure.
And then compared to in the same vein as, I just kind of looked to the left at an image of Pokemon Sword and Shield, and just a little bit of sick came up in my mouth at how ugly that game looks. And then went immediately back to this reveal trailer for...
Do we know who's developing this?
I think it's Bandai Namco.
Okay, so, that's part of it, too, is, the actual Pokemon developers are just, so low-tech. You know what I mean? They don't try to make good-looking games.
I could go on a massive rant for a good long while about how Game Freak has slowly killed my passion for Pokemon.
Well, they just seem lazy about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is Bandai Namco, you're right.
So I'm not going to get into any of that this time. Maybe for a future episode I can wax lyrical about that. But I was once upon a time all about Pokemon, and I've not even touched Pokemon Sword and Shield.
I haven't picked them up.
I've kept a large distance from it. And then Pokemon Snap reveal comes out. They're not developing it, and I loved Pokemon Snap as a child, and I'm excited for a Pokemon game for the first time in 10 years.
Even though it's a spin-off.
Oh, it looks...
I'm looking at the screenshots.
My hopes are set high for the first time. For a game as well. I don't have my hopes set high on games anymore in general as well.
Right. I'm looking at these screenshots, and you're right. Yeah, it does look fantastic. It looks gorgeous. And so much better than an actual Pokemon game.
But as far as things go, that's all we've got to go off, the graphics.
Yeah.
I don't know how the gameplay is going to be. Hopefully they keep true, but also add new stuff.
Right.
Who knows? We can only speculate right now, but that's...
And also, I mean, given the premise, there's not too much, you know what I mean, to innovate on. It's a rail shooter, you take photos of Pokemon.
You take photos of the Pokemon and you give them to the professor, and he goes,
exactly.
Wonderful! And,
Wonderful!
You get the points.
Yes. I hope we get some of those just ear-piercing wonderfuls out of Professor Oak. Yes.
There needs to be a mod for that where it just whatever professor, because it might not even be Professor Oak. That's what will upset me the most.
Right.
If it's
old man, retired Professor Oak.
Just a mod to put those original N64 voice lines for Oak back into it.
Yeah.
But then the volume dialed up to 20.
Oh, it has to be twice as loud as the rest of the game for sure. Even if there's a volume setting in game, it has to defy that. You're not allowed to turn it down.
The only slider for the volume in the game is the Professor Oak's volume slider, and it only gets... You can only make it louder. You can't decrease the volume for it.
Wait, what if you turn it up? You can't turn it back down again? It just stays.
Yeah. So it's just a perpetual knob that is broken, and you can't turn it left anymore. You can only twist it right.
That sounds accurate. This is true to the N64 game.
So this is what I want out of my Pokemon Snap game. Anything else and I'll be disappointed.
So I'm pumped to see it. But I mean, this whole time that I've wanted a sequel, it's just I want more of the same, right? I don't need crazy innovation. The premise is pretty straightforward. Just do more of that.
And the game itself was pretty short as it was.
It was. So I guess that was always the thing, too, with the original. It's I want another one, but longer.
Yeah. Maybe not even that. Just more of that kind of tight experience. I think, even if they tampered with that formula and that length of game, it might start to drag.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Unless they can keep it fresh with different unique gimmicks of levels and things.
The original, it didn't have a lot of levels, but there was a fair amount of replay for each level because
and that was the whole point of it, wasn't it?
Yeah. So...
Because you were never getting all the Pokemon in one go.
No, not at all. And if you really wanted to max out your scores, you had to really figure out what you needed to do to get the right shots for certain Pokemon. So definitely that kind of element, the replay element and kind of the puzzle and the work, figuring out what you need to do to get these shots. Because
everything, went the same way each time on the course. There was that element of planning involved. Okay, I'm going to get it this time. I'm going to do that.
Right. You had to know I need to be throwing the apple at this point, and then I got to whip around and get this photo at this point. Yeah, so those elements I hope are intact here, or even more.
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely feel that with a lot of modern games, particularly the full-priced ones, they try and over-bloat them with unnecessary fluff, whereas I'd have preferred a shorter game, maybe even if it was the same price, I'd have enjoyed that game more if it was a shorter experience, but they made the bits that the less of what was there better.
Yeah, that's right.
Which I guess is probably one of your problems you had with Fire Emblem.
I was just going to say, see our conversation with Fire Emblem. Yeah, exactly.
I thought they did a great job with Fire Emblem. Speaking of that, the actual Fire Emblem bits were really good.
Oh, yeah, of course. I enjoyed those bits. It was just the tedium in between. It was okay, come on. I'm trying to get back to the good part, guys. Are we transitioning here into the next segment?
Okay, I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah.
What are you up to? You're looking forward to anything else? I'm just gonna stick to. I'm looking forward to any more details on Pokemon Snap that we won't get for another year.
You're gonna be waiting on that. I am looking forward to the Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. The N64 port is coming on June 23rd.
Oh, nice. That's another game I did play to death as well.
Oh, yeah. Played a bunch of that.
I went back to that at university and went through all the single player courses and got first place in all of them.
Yeah.
That was
tricky.
I love it. Those later level.
Oh, it's a hard game. It's a hard game.
That actually, not to like drag this thing out, but that felt like a bit of like planning and preparation to me, like learning the course, and then like trying it over and over again.
That's really a part of that genre, right? F-Zero or Wipeout. Like it's not just play through a few times. It's like you got to learn every turn. Whatever you want to call those, like super fast futuristic racers.
What was it? It's not zero-G races, but like no frictionless races, I guess, because you're like off the ground.
Yeah, that's right. Super fast, just whipping through courses, crash, blow up as soon you take one wrong turn.
I'm sure someone's got like a better name for the genre than frictionless.
I don't know. The other one, this is already out, but I haven't looked at it yet. I'm curious about it. Is the Jump Rope Challenge, the free jump rope game on Switch.
I've seen that.
Where you just hold the Joy-Con in each hand.
But...
Yeah, it's just basic, simple animations. But I've been meaning to try it out. So maybe next time I'll let you know how I've done. I'll let you know how many whatever thingies I've done, how many jumps I've done.
If I get time, I'll give it a try as well then. And we can just spend an hour talking about that.
Well, you know what? I just realized something. Like, I mean, we're stuck in this well. Our muscles are going to atrophy. And, like, there's not a lot of room to run around in here and get our cardio. So a little jump rope is probably a good idea.
Having said that, though, my thumb muscles are bulging.
Huge.
Yeah, like my legs have wasted away just to build up more thumb muscle.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you want to put all your resources into your thumbs.
Okay. Well, if anyone has heard this cry for help, we are still stuck in this well. We've lost track of time. Please come and help. Just look for the well and we'll be there, okay? Other than that, I've been Burrhe, joined by Newbs.
I've been Newbs.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah,
bye!
Enjoy. Bye!